Today I wanted to talk a little bit about an abundance mindset, which is really important if you are going to um, create wealth. Um, I know a lot of people say things like, oh, money talks and mine always says goodbye. Um, or they talk about how they can't afford things that probably they really could. Or they talk about how there's never enough. This idea that there's not enough money, there's not enough wealth, there's not enough funds to go around for them to have the things that they want to have. And I have found that that is just not true. Now, when I moved into this house, I was kind of stuck in that scarcity mindset. I was just about a block south of here in an apartment and had been there for years. I mean, I raised my kids there. It just was where I had always lived in Utah. And I wanted to move and I didn't have the nerve to move. I just didn't have there was some fear holding me back. But I kept talking about, I want out of this apartment. I went out of this apartment. I wanted out of it so bad I could taste it. And I would say that. And finally, a couple days after the Christmas, I got the word from my landlord that I had to move. Not in an eviction type of a way, but he was selling the complex, and I was the one who'd been there the longest, so he was kicking me out first, and everyone else had to move too. And so I just was shocked, and this house happened to come on I noticed it about a month before, I guess about Thanksgiving or maybe a little bit before, that it was being advertised for rent. And I noticed that the price was starting to come down. And it was in the perfect place. And I talked about it. I was like, this would be perfect. It's right next door to my friend Charlotte. And it's right next door to my friend Kahiki. And it's right across the street from, I know everybody on this little dead end. And so it was a perfect home. Then I would try to talk myself out of it. It's too much space. It's too much money. I can't afford it. And I would do the math and I go, yeah, actually, I think I can. So I went ahead and, toured the house and really liked it. And I just love the kitchen, by the way. It's gray and white. And it's just beautiful. And I decided that, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and apply to the house. And if it is the house that I'm supposed to be in, everything will fall into place. Okay? So that doesn't mean that always happens. But for me, if it's the house that I'm supposed to be in, or if it's something that is supposed to happen, things kind of fall into place. So I sent my application in. He called all of my references, and he said, I'm in the middle of calling your references, and it will be 3 days before we get back to you. This is on January 3rd. On that evening, no, it's on the 2nd. On the 2nd, he says, I'm calling your references. Give me 3 business days, and I'll get back to you. That evening, he called me back and said, we want to rent to you. And so I just canceled all of my other appointments to see houses, and that was it. I knew that if it was that easy, that was where I needed to be. And it has been wonderful. We love it here. We love that we're still in our neighborhood with our friends. And we love that we have all this room. I mean, I was showing the house to one of my friends that came by today. I was like, but wait, there's more. But it's that idea of, I'm going to put this out there and the universe is going to take care of it. And that sounds a little bit woo-woo for a business page, but it's still important. If you have the mental set that there's never enough money, you will create a situation of never having enough money. And a lot of people will do this, I call it the latte factor, okay? A lot of people like to go out to Starbucks or, the coffee shop, and they like to get their venti mocha latte first thing in the morning for, what, $5? For bad coffee. So $5 times 5 work days a week is $25. That's $100 or more a month that someone is spending on coffee. When you could buy a $5 bag of coffee and make your own at home for pennies. Okay, so that's where I'm like, there's a certain mindset. Truly wealthy people, the people that have built wealth, and I don't mean the ones that inherited wealth, the ones that built it, they don't do that. They don't spend money where it doesn't need to be spent. And they don't say, I can't afford it. They say, that's not really in my budget. Or, you know, I was planning to spend that money somewhere else. Because that's what the truth is. I got rid of the word I can't afford. I got rid of that phrase. Last summer, my son, who is my youngest, and he is very much a mama's boy, wanted to go to the Boy Scout National Jamboree. And so I went ahead and, you know, I wasn't making what I'm making now. And I signed him up, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a $500 payment coming up, and I don't have $500. And I mean, I was sweating bullets. I just kind of signed him up, and I said, the money will come. Excuse me. Didn't worry about it. So the first payment is coming due, and I had $500 worth of work kind of fall in my lap. That's how abundance works. I'm going to go ahead and invest this money. I don't know how the funds are going to come to me, but I have perfect confidence that they will. Which is a really wonderful feeling to have, is that I just don't have to worry. It doesn't mean that you don't have to budget your money, and it doesn't mean that you don't watch where your money is going. You can't manage what you don't measure. But it does mean that you have good stewardship over the money you do have. Because if you're a profligate spender, and if you just love to spend and spend and spend on stupid stuff, things that are not necessary, if you are just hung up on driving through the drive-through at Starbucks rather than setting a timer on your coffee pot at home, or, you know, my poison is Diet Coke. I buy a case of Diet Coke, and it costs me 30 cents a can. And I already know that. It costs me 30 cents a can. Unless I get it on sale, I can get it cheaper. It's cheaper to buy it in the store in a big case than it is for me to buy it out of a vending machine, than it is for me to go and get it from a fountain at the convenience store. Probably McDonald's is the only one that's closest, but that's still $1 for a drink. So I figured out that it's just cheaper for me to buy this stuff at the grocery store and bring it home. And then, you know, during the day, I just pack a few in my purse, and I always have what I'm looking for. You want to watch out for these hidden expenditures. Again, if you are friendly with money and you have an abundance mindset, it does not mean that you go out and just spend, spend, spend. It doesn't mean that you do your grocery shopping at 7-Eleven, which is the most expensive place to buy groceries. It does mean that you still take the time to make a grocery list, and you still take the time to create a budget, because the budget is going to help you create your abundance. I've also noticed that when I'm in that abundance mindset, serendipitous things actually do start happening. When I moved into the house, like the day before I actually signed the lease, I ordered a new refrigerator because I knew that I was going to need one. It wasn't included. And I decided I'm going to find one online. I'm going to find one local. I'm going to, you know, I don't know if it'll be Best Buy or Home Depot or whatever, but I want a French door refrigerator with the freezer on the bottom because I don't have little kids anymore. And I want water and ice in the door. And I don't want to spend more than $1,500. Now, if you know anything about appliances, these appliances are about $3,000 to $3,500 an item. I got mine on sale for $1,300. It's a Frigidaire. And so I was excited to go ahead and order it. Then they had a problem with my order because I forgot that my billing address was still the old address and I was having it shipped to the new address. So I call them and we get this worked out. And they schedule a delivery on January 10th. I think it was the 10th. No, it was the 8th. It was January 8th. And then it got postponed to the 15th, which is last Monday. And then at the end of the day, last Monday, they called me and said, oh, it'll be on the 29th. And I about flipped because I had already been waiting. I guess it was the 15th and then the 22nd, and it finally came today. I about flipped because I'd been waiting so long to try to get my fridge. And I was being very polite to them. I don't raise my voice. I'm not a yeller. I just said, this really isn't acceptable to me. And I need this, basically, I need the fridge. Home Depot very graciously lent me a small one, but I need a fridge. And I called Home Depot and was telling them, I don't know what's going on. They're saying that I rescheduled the delivery the first time and I did not. And they're saying that now it says it's a late truck, what can we do to expedite this delivery, or do I need to cancel? And, they took care of it. It came yesterday. And interestingly enough, Home Depot called me today and said, we hope everything's going well with your new refrigerator. We have a refund of 10% of what I paid for it waiting for you at the store. Would you please go get it? So I just came back from there. It really kind of shocked me because I didn't ask for another discount. I just kind of put it out there that, this isn't okay. I was never rude. I was never ugly. I did say, I'm really frustrated. It's not with you guys. You guys are great. I don't know what's going on, that we're having such of a problem, but can you help me? And a lot of times I'll say, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? So that's another way that abundance comes in. I just kind of set my parameters. I want a brand new refrigerator. I don't care by which maker. I want French doors. I want the freezer on the bottom. I want water and ice in the door. I'm really having a hard time getting used to the freezer on the bottom because I'm so used to it being on the top. And this is the price I wanted paid. Sure enough, I go online and exactly that fridge was right there waiting for me. So that's really about it. As you, let me back up just a little bit. Budgeting is not a dirty word. A lot of people seem to think it is. A budget is simply a spending plan. It does not mean that if something comes up, you can't spend the money elsewhere. It just means that you're planning your spending. It's not written in stone. So I have a budget. I have certain expenses that go on one of my credit cards because it gives me rewards. And so I have a very careful budget. And this one credit card is for day-to-day purchases only. It gets paid off every week. I get paid weekly. So I sit down every week and I map out, I need to put this much money in the personal account to pay for bills. I need to put this much money in the personal account because I want to take my kids to Disneyland again. We had so much fun. We want to go back. So we are saving for another trip. And so I plan this stuff. And then I go, well, if I get funds from my ex-husband, that goes in the Disneyland fund. If I'm, I just have this planned out. And I break it down by week. So if I know that, for example, if I know that, let's say I know the furnace is 20 years old and I know it's probably going to go out, then I'm going to take that $1,500 that furnace cost to $3,000 and I'm going to plan it. Now, the world may not match my plan, but for example, I know a refrigerator lasts 7 to 10 years. Sometimes they last longer. 7 to 10 years is the expected life on a refrigerator. I just spent $1,300 on one. So I am going to sit there and go, okay, so over the next 7 years, if I put $200 a year aside, I'll be able to replace my refrigerator without, it won't be a problem. A lot of people don't do this thinking ahead. The the money comes in, it goes right back out. And there's not a plan. And like I said, a budget is not, it is not to handicap you. It is to help you. If you have a plan and you work your plan, you're going to create abundance in your life. So I think tomorrow I'm going to talk quite a bit more about a budget and why it's a good thing. And it is a good thing. I'm going to talk a little bit too about different budgeting strategies. Mine happens to be based on a weekly paycheck. You're going to want to make adjustments to yours if you get paid bi-weekly or monthly. I also, sometime soon, I'm going to go over the tax changes, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. I've read the bill, but it's not quite clicking with me about what it's going to look like in real time. But that's really how you create abundance. Is for one thing, you tell yourself, the money's there. If I take care of the money will take care of me, right? The other thing is you plan your expenditures. You don't just spend money because that's how you run out of it. You plan your expenditures. I mean, down to the whole, I'm putting aside $20 to go to the movies. And I'm going to put aside $5 for popcorn while I'm there, whatever it is. You plan this, and you need to plan for those recreational nights. You need to plan to recreate yourself, which is what recreation is. You need to plan for long-term, like vacations, like we're doing for Disneyland. And then you need to plan in the short term. Do you like to go to the movies? Do you like to go skiing? I live in the ski capital of the world, greatest snow on earth. Do you like to go hiking? Do you need hiking equipment? Do you need new shoes? Do you have clothing expenses? Do you have, you just kind of go down the list about these are the things that I do that make me feel good and make me enjoy my life. And then you consider what that's going to cost financially, and you plan it. And it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to put $5 a week aside or $25 a week aside to go to Disneyland in the fall, or even maybe I say it's $150 a week because I want to go sooner and I want to go more often. But you plan that purchase, and when you do that, then you are in a position to make better choices. It's when you have the resources, the choices come. So I guess that's it for tonight. Have a wonderful evening. We will talk more about budgeting tomorrow, how to create a budget and what that really means. And I'll talk to you soon.